with the correct language in there to make sure that we can allocate all those funds for our students and teachers and everybody for the upcoming year. So with that being said, that's why you see Moses's job description on here. If you have any questions about the job description, you could, but my thoughts with this is just, yeah.
So it's the last three, the one that would.
So we have right here.
Essential
Yep.
functions.
So I'll just go ahead and read those then.
So it's
Advise the trustees on financial and operational constraints outlined by law. Serve as a member of the administrative team, working closely with the district superintendent and other administrative staff to align educational goals and financial stability of the district, and assist in trustees in ensuring all district policies to comply with local, state, and federal laws. So those were the additional components, but I recommend that you move forward with this approval.
Any questions on that? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that agenda item B3 subsection D, approval of clerk job description, be approved as presented.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Jake and seconded by Tyler that we approve the job description in B3 subsection D as presented. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous. Okay. B4 County Transportation Committee representative for the trustees.
Yep. So the County Transportation Committee requires a representative from each high school district in the county. The County Transportation Committee meets several times during the year to approve bus routes and other transportation issues that affect Hill County school districts. The person serving on this committee representing the high school district 16A can be a trustee or administrator. Scott Phillips has served in this capacity during the 24-25 school year. Board chair will make an appointment to serve for this position in 25-26 year. The County Transportation Committee also allows for a representative from the elementary district in our area. Havre Elementary District 16 should select a trustee whose name we can forward to the committee as a possible representative of the elementary district in our area. The person serving as a potential elementary representative must be a trustee serving on the Elementary District 16 School Board. Kevin Johnson has served in this capacity during the 24-25 year. Board chair will make an appointment to serve in this position for 25-26. I recommend that an administrator be appointed as the High School District 16A representative on the Hill County Transportation Committee. I furthermore recommend that District 16 trustee be named forward as a possible representative for the elementary districts in our area on the County Transportation Committee.
Does anybody want to be on transportation?
I can do it again. No further interest is expressed.
Okay. Would you like to represent us, Mr. Phileas? Perfect. That's perfect. This is great. Okay, so we'll just leave the County Transportation Committee representatives the same. But we do need a motion for that.
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the appointment of Scott Phileas with Kevin Johnson representing the school district, school board. Is
there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Lorraine and seconded by Kristen that we approve Scott Phileas to represent high school and Kevin Johnson to represent school district as a trustee. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those, motion passes unanimous. Okay. Looking for B5.
Got it.
Oh, now we need a representative to the foundation.
Yes. Yep. So Kristen Heilman served the past year on the HPS Education Foundation as the board appointed representative. The foundation board of directors meets once a month, January, April, July, and October, intending to accomplish their mission of providing a margin of excellence for HPS students. The organization is growing both friends and funds. The board chair has the responsibility of appointing this position. I recommend that you approve the board chair's selection of trustees to serve on the HPS Education Foundation Board of Directors.
Would anybody like to volunteer?
Like to.
Anybody else want to do it in place of Kristen? Okay, well then I would say we leave Kristen on there. You're doing a great job. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that Kristen Heilman continue as the trustee to the Havre Public Schools Education Foundation.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Lorraine and seconded by Tyler that we approve Kristen Heilman as the trustee representative to the Havre Public Schools Education Foundation. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 7-0. Agenda item B6, the meeting schedule.
Attached, you'll find a draft schedule for the Board of Trustees meetings during the 25-26 school year. Note the recommendation is that all regular meetings will take place on the second Tuesday of the month. I recommend that you solicit input from fellow board members at the meeting regarding the draft schedule. If this meets your approval, I recommend your adoption. So as you can see, the sheets provided just follows this same pattern that we've been doing the past few years. So if you'd like anything different, you could certainly propose that. But if this feels like we kind of have the meeting schedule dialed up that works pretty well, we just move forward with a recommendation.
Does anybody have any other thoughts on our meeting? If we need to change the date to a Monday or Wednesday or? I think Tuesdays work pretty good, but.
Yeah.
Okay. If everybody's happy with that, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the meeting dates as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Kevin and seconded by Kristen, and we approve the meeting dates as presented. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous. Okay, now on to our special meeting schedule.
Yep. Attached, you'll find a draft schedule for Board of Trustees special meetings during the 25-26 school year. Note that the recommendation is that all regular meetings will take place on the fourth Tuesday of the month. I recommend that you solicit input from fellow board members at the meeting regarding the draft schedule. If this meets your approval, I recommend your adoption.
That meeting, the special meeting in November, typically, unless there's something that needs to be done, we'll cancel that one because it's right before Thanksgiving. So that one, a lot of times does get canceled, that which is November 25th, unless there's something that extremely high priority that we need to get done. So,
And we've,
the special meeting in January isn't, I'm not sure if we have a January 78th.
wow, it's doubtful, Tim.
I didn't know if there was a new calendar that we're putting out.
My guess is it's maybe 1/8 or 28, but you know,
Yeah, I would think 28 would be.
yeah, that would probably be the most likely, but
Okay.
and as you know, too, we talked about that depending on how it looks in the summer, and there's just different times, whereas we know if we have that opportunity, kind of consensus from the board, if we can get all the items done at the regular meeting, we'll try to do so in an effort to time for everyone. So
Looks like it'd be the 13th, just looking at the calendar is what it should be.
That'd probably be the first one. So for the specials, it'd probably be the later. Yeah.
So it should be the 27th.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I'll just have Rebecca make that adjustment.
27th. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, any other thoughts on that? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the special meeting schedule.
Is there a second?
Hmm.
It's been moved by Tyler and seconded by Kelly that we approve the special meeting as presented with a correction. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous. The trustee, activity calendar.
Yep. Attached is a copy of the activity calendar. Please review the information and determine if you'd like to continue to work on the items listed and if the time is appropriate. I recommend your approval of the trustee activity calendar.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on calendar? Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item B8, trustee activity calendar as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Jake and seconded by Kristen that we approve agenda item B8 trustee activity calendar as presented. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous. Agenda item B9, school board member code of ethics and district policy 1511.
Yep. Enclosed is the board member code of ethics policy 1511. The board has traditionally agreed to comply with this code of ethics established in policy by attaching their signatures to the document following review. I recommend your approval of the school board member code of ethics as indicated by a signature of current board members serving on the Havre Public Schools Board.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on the code of ethics? Okay, seeing as there is none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve item B9, the school board member code of ethics and district policy 1511 as presented.
Is there a second?
Professor, you can-
It's been moved by Kristen and seconded by Kelly that we approve B9 school board member code of ethics as presented. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous.
Then we'll go ahead, Tim, and just get those at the end of the night.
Okay, we'll just sign those at the end of the second meeting.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. That brings us to the public comment portion of our meeting. This is an opportunity for any member of the audience to bring to the attention of the board questions or relevant comment concerning school district matters not on the agenda. The board may not take any action on matters brought to the attention of the board unless specific notice of that matter is included in a properly noticed agenda. Therefore, in the public comment portion of the meeting, the board will not discuss or take any action, but may refer a matter presented to a future agenda. If you have comments, please come to the microphone so the board can hear you. Are there any persons present wishing to comment at this time? Seeing as there is none, I would entertain a motion to reconvene immediately following this for our regular May board meeting.
We do a motion?
Yep.
Okay. I make a motion to do, you just. Yeah.
Okay. Is
So
there a
moved.
second? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. And now we'll go right into our next one. Is that our presenters?
Is Cassie out there with him? Hey, Kelly, do you want to just let him know? Or are you gonna let him know? Okay, perfect.
For those in the audience, the first one was just our reorganization meeting. Now we'll have our regular normal meeting that most people would be here for, not the first one. I'm trying to figure out later. They coming in?
Starting to come in.
Okay.
They're maybe getting in position.
Running for governor. There's babies up there. It's the babies too. Got everybody? Mrs. Johnson? Yeah. Okay. I call this board meeting of Havre Public School District 16 and 8 to order. Will Lorraine please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Everyone is present, Mr. Chair, except for trustee Opus.
Okay. Welcome to the May 13th meeting of the Havre School District Board of Trustees. A copy of tonight's meeting agenda is on the table near the door. At this meeting, the board takes official action on agenda items. Items of information and discussion may also be on the agenda. Comments will be solicited from the audience throughout the meeting. Following introduction of the agenda item, the board chair will recognize those who wish to speak to the item. If you have comments, please come to the microphone so that the board can hear you. Following input from the public on a given item, the board may ask questions, then public input will cease and board deliberations will begin. The board is bound by district policy, negotiated agreements, and Montana statute. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of involving members of the public in its meetings. The board also recognizes the statutory and constitutional rights of the public to participate in governmental operations. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy when providing comment. The board is not authorized to hear comments on contested cases or other educative proceedings or personnel matters. The board has developed policies and procedures to process concerns about programs, curriculum, learning material, and personnel. The public will be given an opportunity to bring to the board general questions and comments immediately following items of new business. In the public comment portion at our meeting, the board may not take any action on matters brought to the attention of the board during this period unless specific notice of that matter is included in a properly noticed agenda. Therefore, in the public comment portion of the meeting, the board will not discuss or take any action, but may refer a matter presented to a future agenda. Thank you for attending our meeting. Presentations and display.
Yes. So first up, we'll have our Pony Pride Award presented by Pam Tackett.
Hello, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Pamela Tackett. I currently teach kindergarten at Highland Park. I don't want to get emotional, but I'm leaving this year. All good things, I promise. I told myself I wasn't gonna do this. So the person that I am passing this award on to she is an amazing person. She has been in my life for the last 3 years. And when we started our journey together, I think it was like our first meeting. I told her I was pregnant and I'm like, oh, you're our principal. That's what you wanted to hear is you'll need a maternity sub right at the end of the school year. I'm sorry. Um, but despite that, she was very understanding, very supportive, and I never felt nervous when she was in my room. It always just felt like another day. The feedback I received helped me grow into the teacher that I am now. I'm sorry.
You're fine. Take
Okay.
your time.
Out of my 5 years teaching, I think this year has been one of my toughest. But at the same time, one of my best because of this person. I give a lot of credit to the support, the communication, the problem solving, and the confidence that was provided to me by Haley Greiner. I'm amazed at how well she can connect to literally every single student. And she's a principal in a building with hundreds of kids, and she knows nicknames, she knows hobbies, she can call each kid by their name. And I know with 20 kids in my class, I have a hard time, so big credit to her. So here we are. When I first met her, I was pregnant, and if you don't know now, I'm pregnant, so hello, hormones. So as I'm just finishing my last year teaching here, I couldn't be more grateful to have had Haley as not only my principal and a colleague, but a friend. I feel like this award is just a small sign of appreciation that can symbolize everything that she can do. So with that and way too many tears, I would like to give this well-deserved Pony Pride Award to Haley Garner. And she had no idea she was getting it.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I have some special guests here tonight that are here to share a lot of good information with you. We have two outstanding groups joining us, our student council members, as well as Mrs. Lynch's class council members. These students have shared, or excuse me, these students are here to share the impact their work has made on our school district this year, from organizing events, leading service projects, and promoting recycling and upcycling within our building. Please join me in welcoming our council representatives.
About us, we are the members of the Sunnyside Intermediate School Student Council, and we're excited to share some of our accomplishments from this school year. In March, we organized a school-wide food drive that collected over 400 items for our local food bank. In April, our fifth grade students hosted a trade fair, showcasing their creativity.
Mrs. Lynch's class has also led an integration to recycle paper, turning recycled material into new classroom supplies. These are just a few examples of many ways our students work together to make a positive impact at Sunnyside this year. This year, we organized a school-wide food drive from March 3rd through March 13th and collected over 400 food items. Our students and staff came together to gather 317 canned goods and 89 non-canned items. All donations will be delivered to our local food bank to help support families in need within our community.
Trade fair. The fifth grade students had to upcycle items they found in their homes and sell them to raise money for our school and for local charities.
In total, we raised just under $4,000. We are donating around $1,300 to 3 charities of our choice. The rest of the money will go towards our school.
Additional student council activities, door decorating contest.
Candy cane sales.
Sucker sales.
Earth Day cleaned up around the school. Teacher appreciation cards. Bike week, focus on bike safety. Miss Lynch's paper recycling project. Who? Miss Lynch's fourth grade class council. As we examined the waste in our classroom, we noticed that much of the discarded paper was still usable. We found many sheets that were perfectly fine and decided to reuse them in creative and meaningful ways. We started a classroom initiative to recycle paper in order to reduce paper waste at our school. Through this project, we are recycling, reducing, and upcycling to make better use of materials and help our environment. Where we're doing it at Sunnyside when we began our project in November by signing up for Smart Schools Challenge through the Montana Department of Environmental Quality. As part of this annual competition, we applied for a mini grant to help fund our initiative and were awarded it. However, the funds are currently frozen.
How? We collected used paper and then weighed it. Next, we shred the paper. Then we can use the shredded paper in a project, or we can put the shredded paper in a blender with water. After that, we can make new paper. We also added shredded paper to our compost.
Why? As a class, we noticed a problem. Too much usable paper was being thrown away. We wanted to take action to reduce waste paper and make a positive impact on our school environment. So far, we've made new paper, bookmarks, origami, beanbag seats,
Animal bedding.
Out of 5,1325, Miss Lynch's class council has saved 598.58 pounds of paper.
From going to the dump, yay! Please try to use paper. It helps us a lot.
We made some bookmarks for you and some other ways. We also how to save water through daily habits.
The importance of student council at Sunnyside. Number 1, we help organize events at our school.
Number 2, student council helps our school become a better place.
Number 3, we promote recycling and the reuse of paper.
Number 4, student council helped us raise money for our school and charities around the community. Number 5, it builds teamwork and helps us make better connections.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation. We appreciate your attention and support.
Are there any questions? We're taking 5.
I do have one question. Did you win your baseball game?
I'm curious what the 3 charities are you chose or have you chosen yet from your trade fair? Okay.
Thank you, Sunnyside Student Council and Mrs. Lynch's class for coming and giving us an update.
Yes. Thank you, students, and also thank you to the parents for bringing your kids out here tonight. I truly appreciate all your support. Have a great evening.
And go Lions.
It's gotta be, right? It's a guess, but it's gotta be. It's not even down in my mind, honestly.
All right, now that we heard from the Sunnyside Student Council,
Yes.
no pressure.
All right, that should be a little better height. Good evening, Board of Trustees. Havre High School is closing in on the end of the school year. With this also comes graduation for the class of 2025. Last Thursday, the induction of the new National Honor Society members occurred. Following that was the academic awards, where students were honored for academic achievements and MUS scholarships. Divisionals in track and tennis occur this weekend, with state happening for all sports, including softball, because I learned that they do not have a divisionals this year. They changed it, so that's nice. One act mat is when the theater chooses 3 high school students to be directors of one act plays. I learned about that today from Miss Reno. I thought that was really cool. It's good to give students in the high school a chance to do something like that and be a little more independent. The Havre Public Schools Education Foundation also has an award ceremony this Thursday to go over scholarships for seniors and that type of stuff. That's what I would like to present to the board and the audience as the student body president. As a student, I want to sincerely thank Havre Public Schools for all the incredible things they have done for students like myself. Very soon, I will be graduating at Blue Pony Stadium with the class of 2025. And reflecting on this milestone, I've thought a lot about the wonderful experiences and opportunities I've had while attending such an amazing school district. From starting at Highland Park to now finishing at Havre High School, I've been fortunate to encounter many outstanding staff members and administrators. Their dedication and commitment to helping students grow into responsible, well-rounded citizens has not gone unnoticed. I would especially like to thank Ms. Hughes and Ms. Tomrup alongside Havre High School's administration for always being there for me whenever I needed support. Without those people, I would not be the person standing before you. I am forever grateful for all the other staff members who have helped and encouraged me throughout my journey. Thank you, Havre Public Schools and Board of Trustees, for believing in me and entrusting me with the honor of serving as Havre High Student Body President. Thank you.
Conan, thanks for coming and giving us the updates throughout the year. You've done a great job of keeping us abreast of what is going on, not just with the student council, but the entire activities that are going on. So thank you very much. That takes us to the unanimous consent agenda. Is there any item that needs to be removed from the unanimous consent agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the unanimous consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Tyler and seconded by Kevin that we approve the unanimous consent agenda as presented. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Does any member of the board wish to speak to the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 7-0. Any updates on the safe return to schools?
Yes, yeah, before we go ahead with this, so I found out that next month is the last month we have to have this included in the packet. So this can go away after the June meeting. So with that being said, there are no changes to the safe return to schools and continuity of service plan.
Great. Agenda item D1, request from Davie School.
Yes, Davie School District number 12 is requesting to enter Havre Public School District and pick up students at Patterson Park and the JS Livestock Yard. I recommend that Davie School District number 12 be permitted to enter our district and pick up students at the proposed stops only. Included with each of these requests, you'll find the actual letter from their board chair or superintendent.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on this? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would actually like to make a motion to table agenda items D1 through 6, because I see we have a fair amount of people here that are present for agenda item D7, rather than having them sit through agenda items D1 through 6. I'd like to table those until agenda item D7 has been taken care of.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
No, it's
Okay, it's been moved by Jake and seconded by Kevin that we table items D1 through 6 until we are done with D7, and then put those back into the order after that. Any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Does any member of the board wish to speak to the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous. D7, Mr. Gum?
just a second. Let me get to
Sorry,
the
buddy.
chunk.
Sorry, buddy. I know you can handle it, Mr. Gum.
We got this. All right, item D7. As you know, this item was tabled at the last meeting. As we move forward with this, we kind of talked at the last meeting that my team then would go out and kind of further find some more information for the school board in an effort, right, to try to give the big picture of this entire package. When kind of researching and looking through this, we also found that the policy, which is 3510, currently did not have any language that addressed 8th grade participation in it. So with that being said, as we move forward, what you have in front of you, which is, with all policies, unless it's a mandate by the state or federal government that comes in, we have to have 2 readings on this policy. What you have before you is the language added in that after hearing kind of recommendations from our coaches as well as our administration, I had Mr. Irvin as well as Mrs. Haney go out and kind of research what did that look like within the state. What we found from the Class A standpoint, that all of the districts on the eastern side of the state, the Class A school districts, are having 8th grade participation except for Lewistown. And then Ms. Haney went out and kind of collected data in terms of what did that look like at the middle schools. So she gathered the information, and it's pretty consistent that the middle schools in their 8th grade programs are participating in this format. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead, and if you'll take a look in your board packet on policy 3510, we'll just kind of go through the revision to this policy, which is this addition of the 8th grade wording. So eighth grade students will be allowed to participate in individual and team sports except football at Havre High School. The eighth grade student participation is dependent on whether he or she meets rigorous and comprehensive criteria set forth by the coaching staff and activities director at Havre High School. The coaching staff and administration will be ultimately have the sole discretion on this decision. The eighth grade students must demonstrate physical ability, maturity, and sports-specific skills necessary to compete at the high school level. The coaching staff of each program will determine which team and or which events the eighth grade student will compete in. All eighth grade students participating in an HHS activity are required to meet the eligibility, participation, and team expectations, the same as any traditional high school student athlete. Participation by eighth grade students is limited to athletics and excludes cheer, band, and choir, and all other Havre High activities and clubs. It is in the intention of Havre Public Schools to provide a platform that promotes and enhances participation in all high school, and middle school team sports and activities. The administration and coaching staff of HHS and HMS will work cooperatively to ensure that all students are treated with dignity and in an equitable manner. So that is the addition to the policy that we're proposing. And then with that too, there was also some additional information that was requested. So let's see, Moses, if you want to hand this out. And then also copies of this. So Mr. Sheila, I know you had requested kind of some more information just in terms of cost per sport and what did that look like. And so Mark, Irvin, and Mallory did a breakdown for you on high school volleyball and wrestling in terms of kind of cost per student. What does it cost for students participating in athletic programs at Havre High School? Below that, you will find also eighth grade participation numbers in the high school for 23-24, as well as for 24-25. So gives you kind of a breakdown of the numbers of students that we've had try out and then make teams at Havre High School. When you look at the funds used to pay for athletics, so Moses and I sat down and also took a look at this from the general fund standpoint as well as from the athletic budget. So the general fund typically funds things like uniforms, fuel, and equipment. The athletic budget funds the meals, registration fees, hotels, things like that. So as this applies to eighth grade students participating in high school athletics, there's no substantial cost influx to the high school budget or elementary budget that has not already been factored in already for high school athletic competition. So when you look at things like the number of uniforms that are out there, the trips, we're not having our eighth grade students do separate trips outside of then what they would normally do in high school anyway. So from a cost standpoint, as Moses and I examined this, there isn't a big cost differential, anything that we're looking where by bringing eighth grade students up, that it's increasing a sway in the high school budget. So those are just some kind of fun breakdowns that were requested. One of the things that we also found out kind of in this process and listening to our coaches, then also the concerns of the school board, was we tried to also shore up in visiting with Mark and Heather, a way to take a look at eligibility to make sure that then when we put these policies that you ultimately decide on into play, if those go into the coaches' handbooks, right? And then we're going to start making sure that we mirror what's happening from the eligibility standpoint in the middle school to also the high school, which makes sense when you think about it in terms of students being able to then, let's say they're participating in a middle school sports, they have the opportunity to now participate at the high school level. They're already used to those expectations because they currently do those, which made a lot of sense. So then now jumping over to a high school team, if they happen to make it, would make sense, and they're already kind of practicing that eligibility standard. So know that if the recommendation was to go through, that the language that you see in this policy and how we run our eligibility would be the same in terms of the middle school and the high school. So with that being said, I'll go forward with the recommendation, which is I recommend the proposed language that I read through and adjustments to policy 3510 as presented on first reading only.
Do any of our other administrators have any comments or thoughts on this? Okay, if there's none, do any of our coaches or teachers have any thoughts that they would like to share with us? And please come down to the microphone so that everybody can hear you. After our staff has their opportunity to give us their insight, then I'll let the public have their opportunity at that point, just so everybody's kind of aware how this will work.
Did you, Mr. Chairman, before we get going, did you want to set like a time limit and one comment per person, or how do you want to do that?
When we get to the public comment, we'll
Okay.
limit it to a 2-minute comment period.
Okay.
I'm Kelly Weiss. Does it work?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm the assistant boys basketball coach, and I highly recommend that the 8th grade kids get rewarded for their athletic ability by being able to move up. It would just be like if you're in 8th grade, you get moved up from algebra to geometry to go to that next level in that sense. So we do it for our academics, so I believe that we should do it for our athletics too. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tommy Brown. I'm the middle school and high school girls basketball coach. I just wanted to go off by saying Havre Public Schools are full of people who want to work here. And part of people wanting to work for HPS is the support we all have for each other in our school district. And our administrators have recommended, and our school board has hired some wonderful people to work here. And the trust and support we continually have in our school systems employees allow them to do their job well. School district that has supportive staff and supportive board members is a very attractive place to work. I know it is to me. And I would argue that it is a big reason why HPS has had success in historically academics, athletics, and all activities. Our school puts good people in place to do their job well, and that includes our coaches. The board, you've heard at the last meeting, and I'm sure you will tonight, a lot of coaches advocate for 8th grade participation. And you can see we have some more show up again tonight. I've communicated and spoken with a lot of our coaches, and we believe, after experiencing it for the last 2 years, allowing 8th graders to participate is what is best for our programs and the development of our student athletes. So our coaches have reflected those beliefs to our administrators, and our administrators in turn have trusted our coaches' beliefs and reflected that trust to our superintendent, Mr. Gump. So that led our school to collectively recommend to the board to continue to let 8th graders participate. So ultimately, that's what we believe is best for our teams and our athletes. And the experience of this policy the past 2 years has mainly been positive. So I just ask that the board consider showing the same support and trust that our superintendent, administrator, and coaches did when it came to rediscussing this policy, and trust that our high school and middle school administrators and coaches will continue to make this policy work. As I mentioned before, The trust and support we share in our district is special, and it certainly separates our school community from many others in the state of Montana. And it's a big reason why many people in this room who have worked here for years continue to work here and continue to excel. So thank you.
Good evening, board. Tony Vigalotti. I'm head softball coach, and I would just like to be on the record as supporting this policy as the way that it is written. I think it's a good policy the way it's written now, and I just wanted to be on the record to support that policy. Thank you.
The other coaches or staff have any comments they'd like to share with us? Okay, does any member of the audience wish to share their thoughts on the eighth grade participation? Okay. Seeing there's none at this time, board, what are your thoughts and questions if you have any?
After talking to members of the community, and talking to Brian and other people that are in the community, I strongly feel that we should support this, put the trust in the coaches for what they're doing, and approve this as first reading.
Anybody else?
So Mr. Gum, just to clarify, it is the recommendation of all the coaches, all the administrators that this policy be approved, correct?
Correct.
One question I had just as this sheet got sent out, we have six in 2023-24, we had 6 eighth graders that were bumped up. But in 2024 and 25, we had 17. So we went from 6 eighth grade students to 17 eighth grade students. And as I voiced in our last meeting, one of my concerns is that are we basically compromising some of our opportunities for our middle schoolers by bumping them up into high school activities? So I was actually surprised to see this high of number for this year. And I'm just curious if there's a reason for the huge jump between 6 and 17.
I'm not sure. I mean, probably Mark Irvin could probably field that a little bit better than I could, or the coaching staff. I can tell you in visiting from the middle school standpoint, in talking with Heather, she couldn't be here tonight, but Kurt and I have kind of had some discussions on this as well, that they're looking to open up those capabilities to try out for now 6th grade students when you've got competition going on in volleyball and basketball. And so in an effort then to be able to, if we were short on students, if we had X amount of students to come up, that we would have those tryouts available for now our 6th grade in sports that you can do that. So that would allow those students now to move up and have a chance to participate with the 7th and 8th grade students. So I think being able to open that system up would help kind of shore up if there was any type of reduction in numbers. So, and Kurt, let's see, is Kurt here? Kurt, did you have any other kind of follow-ups from middle school that might, anything to add with that?
Yes, Board of Trustees. Like you, I had many concerns about 8th graders playing high school sports as well. I'm going to go off topic just for a second, if that is okay. Because
same with you. I want kids to be able to have that opportunity to compete. And if we move some eighth graders up, they would maybe not have the opportunity. Maybe some grades would suffer because of it. And I was really on the fence and actually leaning more towards not letting eighth graders kind of move up. But after last week's board meeting and talking to community members as well, there is a great support out here behind me of wanting to work with my kids here at the middle school. And I think that that is awesome that they want to work with our kids and improve their programs. We had many parents come down to the microphone to discuss how they were in favor of it. And if I remember right, there was not one parent that came here to argue against it. And so making a decision, I think, is we have people who are very, very supportive of it. And we have people that maybe don't support it, but they're not willing to come here and talk to us about it. So my vote would then be to open it up to eighth graders. And then with that, yes, our numbers have been very low at the middle school participation in volleyball and basketball. There's been multiple years since I've been here where we haven't even made cuts. Losing eighth graders up to the high school is going to put a big deficit on our teams here. But we are in the 1B for athletics. And when our kids go play, our eighth graders are actually playing seventh graders and sixth graders. Our seventh graders are playing sixth graders and fifth graders. And possibly even there's been a few times where there's fourth graders on a seventh grade basketball team. So I think if we're going to open up the eighth graders to play at the high school level, which I am for my coaches in that, I think that we open up now to allow sixth graders to compete at our level too. And maybe that'll get a few more sixth graders on the right track. You know, sixth graders really don't have to fight with eligibility. If that's our main goal of getting kids wanting to succeed or wanting to do something that's just going to be that little extra motivator to maybe hit the graduation stage, why don't we start young and motivate some sixth graders who ultimately sixth graders, it's a hard transition from sixth grade or fifth grade to sixth grade. You got one teacher that's looking out for you to 7 different teachers that work with 140 kids during the day. You know, a lot of sixth graders, maybe it's something that will just kind of spark them to get some homework done and start building those good attributes now, early and younger. But with that, yes, talking with Mrs. Haney, we are proposing that we would do like an A-B team model now at the middle school level, where, you know, our top kids would be on the A team, our next tier kids would be on the B team. Possibly, if it were ever to work out, have a C squad too. I know the 1B has even a lower level teams than the 7th grade and 8th grade. So we definitely could find games for our kids that are on that C squad team. I think that's something that's really up for debate going forward and just allows a few more kids to participate. We will keep intramurals going. So if a 6th grader does try out but doesn't make the team, we will keep intramurals in the springtime for them to perfect their skills, both in volleyball and basketball. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I'll take some questions too. I will just say this one too, last thing, because I coached basketball at high school for 6-7 years, and then Shelby as well. I know that cutting kids was a big thing on the board. I can guarantee you that the kids that I have cut weigh more on me than playing on Friday night and Saturday night the basketball games or tournaments. Okay, I was fortunate enough to coach some very good players and some very good teams that got to play Friday night and Saturday night state tournament. I got to coach a team that got to host a Eastern A divisional title. The very first year that we were in the East, I'm pretty sure I remember an article saying Havre's the beast of the East this year. Like the East is not better than Central A. But the kids that I cut that year weigh way more in my heart than any of those things that we did accomplished. So sorry I got emotional. I think it was the lady before me that got a little emotional too. So rubbing off on me. Also, you know, have a new baby, don't get much sleep anymore these days too. So But after hearing everything that I've heard in the community, the great staff we have behind us, I fully support the 8th graders playing up. And then I think again, I think we open up at the middle school too. We just allow kids to compete and get better and get to do what they love doing. So sorry, I interrupted one last time.
So would your guys' what you want to adjust at the middle school is another wide open policy, not as a need base, just wide open?
Kind of wide open, honestly, because it has, our numbers are not what they used to be in the 90s. Our numbers are not what they used to be in 2000. Someone brought the comment, I think, Kelly, you brought up the comment of what's going on, why aren't kids competing? I would say that you have A through Z variables on why that is going on in this day and age. But the ultimate fact is they aren't. They're not going out right now. But we do have some kids. Our gym is packed Monday through Friday and Sunday of parents bringing in their kids to work on 4th grade basketball skills, 3rd grade basketball skills, 6th grade basketball skills. It's ultimately one of the funner parts of my job of telling this family they've reserved it so you don't get to, and then trying to balance that all out. Yes.
So
That they'll quit the very fine next year. I feel that our coaching staff behind me does a lot of stuff in the summer to work with kids, and that I think kids won't have a false tense of making the team or not. That's just my own viewpoint on that. Will some 6th graders who maybe get cut have a hard time with that? Yes. I mean, getting cut is hard. It is hard. But that's why I think our fallback of doing what we've always done of having intramural sports, once again, allowing those kids that opportunity to, hey, we have coaches that want to work with you. They want to help build your skills. Let's do it. You're a 7th grader next year, and you're going to have a really good shot at being on the team next year. Also, you're going to grow about 4 inches between 6th grade and 7th grade year too. So
It's just so much more trouble. They're not, they're playing the better. Doesn't matter if they're class A, class B, they're playing, they're going to tournament.
yes.
You feel like that person is going to not continue.
Say that one more time. Sorry, my brain was tracking a different direction. Yeah.
Yes. 8th grade year. That they're like, I agree.
Yeah, I would say if that kid truly has a passion to want to be on the team, they're going to work their tail off to be on that team. I can tell you my senior year, there was a kid who did not make the freshman team that was on my team as a senior. So that kid had the mindset of, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to get better. And that kid didn't make JV as a sophomore. He made the sophomore team as a sophomore, and then made the JV team as a junior, and then made the varsity team as a senior. So had that work ethic, that drive of this is what I want. So I guess I can't quote on any individual's drive of what they really want to do. But I had a nephew this year who never played basketball, and Coach Burgess allowed him to be on his team this year. Did he play a whole lot? No. But he had the opportunity to go in, practice every morning, and try to get it so that he is on the court with the rest of his teammates. So I don't see a kid, oh, I'm on the 8th grade team, being like, not going out freshman year. I guess I don't see that. Okay, yeah, that I don't see that.
They're still going to work really
Yep.
hard.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the only comment, people can refresh my memory. Kristen was wondering about the big jump. I think the wrestling, I think it was from open spots. Someone correct me if that's wrong. So that's like 6 of them. And I remember the girls' basketball coaches, or one of them talking about they were short. Somehow the girls wouldn't get much experience because they had to bring some up for lower level teams so they could actually field some teams or full teams so they could play the varsity, JV, and the freshmen. Now, my memory
Yeah.
isn't always the best, but that's
Yeah.
the 2 things that I remember, which would account for 9 of the students that caused it to jump.
Sure.
And I guess that's just what I'm trying to understand with that question is, do we have the huge jump because we're not getting as many kids going out for teams? And so we need to bring up those 8th graders to get that caliber of play, or are we just trying to recruit as many 8th graders as we can? And that's why we have the big jump. I'm just trying to understand anybody who
Did you
can
wanna come
answer the
down, Mike?
question. I'm just trying to understand the jump, in the numbers.
Just
Okay.
The other thing we more activity. Part of that, like, said it was coming in. We also have overall. There is no, we don't actually.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just real quick, I'm only going to speak about the softball program, but this was year 8. This is year 8 for me. 7 seasons because we had a COVID year in there. But I think my first 2 or 3 years, we had 35 and 36 kids coming out for high school softball. That's slowly dwindled over my 8 years. This year we had 23 total that we started with, including 2, that includes 2 8th graders. 2 of the older kids cut themselves. So we're down to 21, right? We have 6 seniors. So that leaves us 15 if everybody comes back next year. And I don't know what the 8th grade numbers look like next year, but I would hate just to have a varsity team only. 18 to 22 kids for a softball program is perfect for 2 teams. But without that development at the lower level, pretty soon, I believe that your varsity level suffers if you can't get 10, 12, 14 games for those younger kids. But the numbers in my program anyway have dwindled, whether that's kids just not participating, whether that's kids don't like the coach. I don't know what it is, right? But over the years, they've slowly dwindled. And I think, Tommy and Waylon, you can speak. Have you seen the same thing in numbers? So that's just what I've seen in my 8 years.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Kurt, you pointed out that nobody came to talk against it. Every parent that I talked to that was against it, that has kids in the schools, said they will not come talk against it because they're afraid of retribution from coaching. I'm not saying our coaches would do that, but that's their fear.
I think from talking to people in the community, a lot of the lack of participation in these sports, women's basketball, the fall, the winter sports, it's because of other community-led programs like hockey. A lot of women have gone to playing wrestling. That just started. Now there's girls going to multiple different sports throughout the fall. And I think that's pulling a lot of kids away. There's so many different activities.
I guess the thing I'm having trouble with is the need versus just flat, everybody's eligible. And like I said at our last meeting, we've known for years that if you have a spot that you fit in a school, whether that's band, choir, key club, FFA, whatever it is, whatever you have so that you have an ownership in our school system, those kids tend to do better in the school because they have something to strive for. They have a group of kids that they can go to, that they're a part of something. If it's not needed, we're taking that away from those kids that maybe this is what they need in order to stay in the school system. Whether that's in sixth grade or a senior. The sixth graders, they have things that they can participate in, things that they till this year. And that new proposal. But they've had that opportunity. If we're going to start cutting the high school kids, that's where we start limiting the ownership that our kids have in the schools. And I'm not saying that all 16 or 17 or however many of them went out, that they replace somebody. I'm not saying that. But that's what we asked the very first time for it to be, was at a numbers based deal. And the very first student that we had do this was cut in the volleyball program. She actually made the team and then was told she didn't make the team because there was this older kid that was cut. That family doesn't reside in our town anymore because of it. So, because it wasn't clearly explained to them, but that was done the first time. The very first sport that a cut was going to be made, that high school girl was then put back on the team. That's what we asked. And that's what we wanted it to be from the beginning. That's what we asked for. And we were told, let us have more flexibility. We'll do that, but give us don't put it in policy that way. So the very first time that wasn't enforced, and from there it's never been, my knowledge, enforced again. So I just have a problem with us limiting our high school kids. If we're going to cut them, we might as well just move the 8th graders up to the high school. At this point, we might as well just say they're part of the high school. If we're going to do all sports, we might as well just move them up to the high school. And all we're doing is just robbing from the next lowest grade down to fulfill the next higher one. I'm not opposed to it if it's a need thing. If we're doing it to support, to give those high school kids an opportunity, I get that. I think everybody at the table has always been for that. If it's a need thing, if you need kids based upon numbers, I don't think anybody has ever questioned that would be a good thing. But that's what I struggle with.
I guess some of the problems that I have is people automatically think that the worst players get cut because they're the worst players or whatever. I've been around long enough, drove bus. There's this thing called attitude that can have a real negative effect on teams, period. Whether it's sports, whether it's a group of people in some activity. You know, there's more than just the ability that I think coaches look at. And it's like a cancer. You have one bad attitude, you have one kid, and those things come into play. And I guess, like being an old timer here, like Paul Harvey always said, the rest of the story, I'm sure there's young ones here that don't even know who Paul Harvey is, but no, I think there's some things that we're not just looking at the kid as an athlete, you look at kids as a whole person. So from what I look at, these numbers, we must have real small 8th grade classes if that's all that's going to move up for athletics. I think there's some abilities in there that play into it. And coaches know. I got to haul around a lot of good ones over the years. They know the ones that need to work on their basics, put in some extra time. It's just the nature of the game. I know back a long time ago when Havre High had 12 to 1,300 kids, there probably wasn't any sport that there wasn't major cuts in. And probably some pretty good ones that were cut at that time. Well, we're down to 525 kids now and trying to run about the same number of sports. I know we don't have gymnastics and those types of things that we used to have, but I think if a person puts in the hard work, they deserve to be tried out, and I trust the coaches and ADs and administration to make the right decisions. I guess I don't think it's a participation sport. If you go out, you automatically play. I think it comes down to ability. It's kind of that way in most places. So that's what I feel.
There's another side of that too.
Hey, Coach, if you wanted to.
I was just gonna say one thing. The policy as it was written before did limit some things, and then it got changed at a board meeting and became very open-ended. And it was determined that the coaches and the administration, particularly me, the activities director, would see how that we would determine how that would play out, which we did. So it was set up that way, and then that got changed in a meeting, and that wasn't done by us. But I will say this, a couple times I've heard it get thrown out that there's retribution and that there was also, it depends on what your name is. I'll tell you this, our coaches and myself deal all year long in every sport with disgruntled and upset parents and other things that happen. And a lot of times that happens with kids that are on those teams, and they show nothing but integrity and have never held it in anything that I've ever seen against that kid. And I just think it needs to be said that this is a tough issue. I get that. And we've made it even tougher by discussing it over and over. But I think that to say those kinds of things about the coaches, I work with those guys every day. And I know how tough it is because I've coached for a long time too. And I just want to say that I've seen nothing but integrity out of that group. And I've appreciated how they've helped me and how we've communicated together to try to take things that got changed in a meeting and figure out how can we move forward in a positive way and impact kids in a positive way and try to limit the negative on all kids. We've seen the need. Change is tough. I get that. I don't want to see a negative light shed on our coaches because they do a great job. And we're going to lose them if we don't support them. And I wouldn't blame them, to be honest. That being said, we've got great kids, and that's why these guys come out and do this. They want to work with those guys, but it isn't easy, and we get beat up all the time anyway. That's why I don't look at social media. But we can't normally say what we would like to say back, and we don't because we're professional. But I have not known any of my coaches, all of them, To be attacked and to have negative conversations and step back up and still play those kids and support those kids and not hold it against them. So I just think that needs to be known and said as well. Because it is a tough job, but they do a great job with it. And I don't see them, numbers are down. We've seen a need. Kids are seeing it and they're coming up and playing. We've put together some great plans to address middle school issues if they lose kids. It's been a lot of work and we can't give you 100%, clarity on every answer. It just, that isn't how it is. But I get that it's a work in progress. I thought we've done pretty well with it. And, our kids have even welcomed in the 8th grade kids and accepted them and done a nice job with them as well. But our coaches, yeah, definitely. They work hard. They do a good job. And I don't want to see their integrity questioned is what I need to say about that. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. And I'll miss you guys as well. And but it's one thing I wanted to say for this guy.
So I have heard from several negative people, and I don't think it's that they think ex-coach is going to punish their child. But do you feel like there is some negative rollout for not supporting the flow of maybe what happened? I had friendships and coach my girl and great job, but there is this perception, and I don't think it's meant for any one person. Some of the kids who play those parents have to be way harder to deal with than the one or two in the stands. So good job.
You can be.
Very great job.
All right. Thank you.
And I'll just say one more thing and then get out of here because I know you guys want to get out of here tonight too. But I think sometimes we have to look at the other side of it too, not just the athletics and not just the competition. I don't think in the last 2 years that I've gone through a selection process, but I know that I've had a couple of girls that have remained on my teams. I don't know if they're ever going to turn into softball players to help the varsity squad, but they need to be at that practice. They need to be around those other girls because there's other things going on in their life that's a good place for them to be. They're supported by their teammates. And so there's another life picture there too that I take into consideration, and having them at that practice, they know where they're going to be. We know where they're going to be is important for them as well. Make sense?
Any other questions or comments? Yep.
So this comment, I spoke as a parent last time. This is kind of more as a teacher role. I'm Michelle Geller, by the way. I teach at the high school. So Tim, I know you were talking about, you have a hard time cutting kids, and I don't like that idea either. But I also know, there are certain kids, the fear is that if we make a rule that we can't cut kids, our coaches may be, and you give them a limit, a number of kids that they can keep, and they have at the high school level. You may have 3 or 4 kids that, because it happens, that go out and they haven't been eligible all year long. But they have to keep them. And now if they're not eligible to play in the future, they might not have a C squad or a JV. And the rest of those kids suffer because they have to keep kids that they know are probably not going to be eligible to play. So I think it's a hard thing to be cut and dry about we can't cut, because there's a lot of dynamics in that.
just to clarify, coaches don't, I hope you did not take it as I believe that there was retribution. That's the response that I've gotten. But as you indicated, Mr. Leeds, there was nobody here that spoke against it. That's the reasoning that I got. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying that they're justified. I'm not saying that you guys are gonna treat their kids different. That's not what I'm saying. That's the fear that a lot of the people had. So I'm not saying our coaches are not good coaches, because I believe you guys are. You guys have good teams. You guys do great things with kids. But this is just what I hear from parents and the community. That's why they chose not to come.
And I just want to add a couple thoughts or comments, I guess. I want to recognize that we tabled this issue last meeting because we wanted more information, more thought from our activities directors, both at the high school, the middle school, as well as our administrators and coaches. And so I want to recognize that you guys have come to us now with a definitive recommendation that is unanimous to support this. I understand that every other school in our district, with the exception of Lewistown, is doing this. And I want to also recognize that I appreciate very much all the work that you guys have done. The last meeting I expressed, one of my concerns is I have a job to advocate for all kids, right? Not just eighth graders. I need to advocate for all kids when I sit on this board. And so I want to recognize how much I appreciate the work that you guys have done to look at this and how can we be equitable with regard to both our middle schoolers and our high schoolers, and to field good teams and competitive teams so that we're in a supportive and enjoyable environment for all of us. And I do appreciate the new language and that we're specifically calling out that we want to, ensure that all students are treated with dignity and in an equitable manner, because that has been my main concern with this policy in general. So thank you for all your work on that.
Kelly Beast. I just have one more comment on the kids. The reason coaches coach are for the kids. That's what they're there for. They want to see them explore everything, not just the game of basketball or volleyball or whatever. They're trying to make those kids great people for our society later on when they become our age in that kind of situation. So this is coming from me. I coach the kids because I love to be around kids and to be able to see them get the aha moment of anything, whether they're in academics or athletics. That's the most rewarding thing you can have as a coach, when a player comes back to you, or one of your athletes comes back to you and said, you made a difference in my life. That's just like teaching. We make a difference, and people don't realize how big a difference we make in those kids' life, whether good or bad. Hopefully it's mostly good, but you do have situations where you have bad. Okay? And that's everything in the world. But I guarantee you 99% of coaches are there for one reason, and that's to make those kids better people and better athletes. Thanks. No, I've never quit.
That's what I keep hearing. We're going to lose good coaches.
Well, I can't say you're not going to lose a good coach, because you probably are next year, after next year. That would be me. I'm retiring for good. Okay? But that doesn't mean I am not going to support kids. I will be at games when I'm in town. I'll do all that kind of stuff because that's what keeps you young and willing to be a part of a community and society and that kind of stuff. You have good and bad and everything. It's how you look at it. Be kind to everybody, you know, and support people for who they are, whether they make bad. Every kid's a good kid, that we just make bad choices sometimes. And as adults, we do the same thing. So you support them in the bad and the good times is how I look as a coach, coaching kids, communicating with adults, that kind of stuff. So that's my 2 cents.
We ready to make a motion or?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the revised policy 3510 as distributed and discussed. Yes, first reading.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Kevin and seconded by Tyler that we approve the revised 3510 as written on first reading. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Does any member of the board wish to speak to the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-2. Okay, now we go back. At D1. Request of Havre of Davie School District 12 to cross into Havre School District.
Okay. Davie School District number 12 is requesting to enter Havre Public School District and pick up students at Patterson Park and JS Livestock Yard. I recommend that Davie School District number 12 be permitted to enter our district and pick up students at these proposed stops only.
And is that the same stops they've always used?
Yep. Yeah, all the ones before you, Mr. Chairman, are the same ones.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. No, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve D1 district.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Tyler and seconded by Kelly that we approve and item D1 Davis School District cross into our boundaries. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Any member of the board wish to speak to the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 7-0. Agenda item D2 Cottonwood School District cross into our boundaries.
Yep. Cottonwood School District number 57 is requesting to enter Havre Public School District and pick up students at First Lutheran Preschool. I recommend that Cottonwood School District number 57 be permitted to enter our district and pick up students at the proposed stop only.
Do you have any questions on that one? Okay, is any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Or, excuse me, anybody like to make the motion?
I move to approve item D2, request by Cottonwood School District 57, across the boundary.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Kevin and seconded by Tyler that we approve agenda item D2, Cottonwood School District request to cross into our boundaries as presented. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Does any member of the board wish to speak? All those in favor, raise your hand. Probably not. Motion passes 6-0. Good catch, Kelly. I didn't even think about that. Agenda item D3, North Stars request.
Yes. North Star School District number 99M is requesting to enter Havre Public School District and pick up students along Highway 2, approximately 6 miles west of Havre. I recommend that North Star School District number 99M be permitted to enter our district and pick up students at the proposed stop only.
This one would be the high school. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we pass item D3, North Star School District cross boundaries.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Kevin and seconded by Kristen that we approve item D3 North Stars School District request to cross into our boundaries. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Does any member of the board wish to speak? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 7-0. Agenda item D4.
Yes. So this is on consideration of revised policy 4330P, community relations on first reading only. And so with this, just kind of a little bit of background, we had some discussions when it came time for outside groups using our facilities, right? And so if you remember when we met from our financial committee meeting earlier during the winter, kind of talked about some differences in terms of what does that financially look like when outside groups come in? Are we adequately maybe charging for said use of that? And so then we kind of broke it down. We kind of talked through the process of, is it student groups that are preparing our kids moving forward that are currently going to be Blue Ponies? Is it like an outside Taekwondo group wanting to use the facility? And then what is the financial threshold? So Scott, myself sat down, had conversations with Mark as well as the high school administration. Before you, when you look at this policy, you'll notice on the second page that from the high school standpoint, local groups, out of town groups, we moved the financial thresholds with that. And that was also in the discussion we had within our committee work that we thought we could probably make some movement in terms of that from a financial standpoint. And then you'll also notice from local groups and out of town groups from the middle school standpoint. So we're just doing a modification of this policy to adjust to the different financial threshold that we feel like is more considerate of where the economics are right now and then the time and, taking some samples of some other school districts. What does that look like? If you then flip to the back page, I also have included the request for facility use form. So Scott and Leila and I kind of sat down and looking to potentially revise this in dealing with Principal Kraske on a couple different times this year when he was able to come back after an outside group was using the facility. It wasn't necessarily cleaned up or put back in the state that we would like with that. And so Dustin had some concerns. He brought them to me. We kind of talked through them as a group. I feel like, hey, that's something we definitely should be doing. So if you notice the bottom sentence on this request for facility use, talks about a fee of $200 will be charged if the building is not in the same condition as it was before use. So we're trying to just make sure that when these groups are using our facility, that they really recognize the responsibility of cleaning up after themselves. And if we don't, rather than trying to go after them for like a deposit, we'll just go ahead and assess a fee at the time. So I feel like the adjustments we made are reasonable and they're ones we visited in the community. So just looking forward for your recommendation on this first reading.
Any questions on this? Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve item D4, the revised policy 4330P, community relations on first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Kristen and seconded by Kevin that we approve agenda item D4, revised policy 4330P on first reading. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Any member of the board wish to speak to the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. D5.
Okay, so this is a consideration for approval of the 25-26 Havre Public Schools calendar as well as the 25-26 Colony calendar. So I'll give you a little background before we go ahead with the recommendation. As you know, we've had to reconvene the calendar committee for just a regular school calendar based on a couple of events that came up. So I'll kind of just refresh your memory on what those were. So in March, we had to kind of reconvene our committee. When we were navigating through negotiations, we realized that we had an 8th PIR day that was built into the calendar. And as Holly and I researched and kind of looked through this, we really can only have a maximum of 7 PIR days. So that was one of the reasons we had to reconvene the committee. Then during this meeting, Mark brought to our attention that we needed to adjust the high school graduation rate, also based on next year when spring sports has all of their state level competition. Those would fall right on in kind of tandem with graduation. As we kind of walked through that process, the committee agreed that, hey, it would be best if we move it forward, sticking with a Saturday versus a Sunday graduation. So that was adjusted to Saturday, June 6th at Blue Pony Stadium. Then in April, for our K-5 schools, we needed to adjust the 2 support Fridays on the parent-teacher conferences, one in the fall, one in the spring. Dates being October 24th and March 20th of 2026. Throughout the HEA process, we also discovered that we need, when we kind of came to the closing of negotiations, that it was agreed that Sport Friday on December 19th, right before school gets out for Christmas break, wasn't one that was necessarily favorable or that we'd probably get a lot out of. So that was also agreed upon, that we would just eliminate that Sport Friday and it would just be a non-school day. So that kind of gives you a little bit of background in terms of the Havre Public Schools calendar. So that's why it's before you again, because originally it was a 2-year calendar, but we had to make those adjustments. And then moving on to the Colony calendar. So as we really navigated this process, as I talked with legal, it was advised that the best way to really do this is to create an actual Colony calendar so that those dates are clearly articulated for all to see. So as we went through this process, Holly, Moses, myself, when we were out visiting with Colony leaders, they articulated to us that there were 4 different Hooterite calendar, days, if you will, that are kind of either tied to our holidays or completely separate, but they don't necessarily fall in line with where our calendar is. So we made some adjustments so that calendar before you on the Colony calendar is reflective of what the Colony feels like is the best calendar for them. Then as we also look through the process, we found, as you know, when you get to kind of the agreements, that we have some language in there reflecting hours. So as Holly and I went through this process, we found that those support Fridays, we actually had to add in one more support Friday, which we're deeming in the Colony calendar the instructional Friday, because it's not really then a show up if you need to get some work done. You have to show up and meet those minutes just based on the number of hours that we have to get. So out at the Colony, remember, in the morning, they're having German school, and then they close after our school's done with German school again. So the calendar that we've worked on, along with the daily schedule, is reflective to meet minutes within that are mandated by the state of Montana. So you'll notice with that being a little different, we have then pushed those out to the Colony. And the Colony leaders feel like this schedule works for them as well. So we're just bringing both calendars back in front of you for approval.
How does the HEA feel about the difference in the schedules?
Yeah, they were okay with it. I mean, that's why we agreed to on the time frame in terms of hours, and so we're thoughtful as we kind of had discussions back and forth with what would work out there as well as what still works and gives us some flexibility in here.
Yeah.
So we had Lorraine, MHSA will then roll out like all the, kind of start dates for sports and all those things for the year. Well, this for 26, sometimes you have that matching up where like the state tournaments maybe end on like Memorial Day. Like this year, how they close the following weekend, we have high school graduation, so it works out perfectly. Next year, it would fall right in line when high school graduation was scheduled. So that puts us at a tough situation for our kids to come back right from state level competition. Maybe they're competing the day of graduation, even just depending on how that looks, right? And that wouldn't work. And then in discussions with our high school team too, we didn't necessarily want to have graduation on a Sunday, just based on kind of families and how that looks for the weekend. So the decision was made, let's just move graduation, even though they can be done with school, let's move graduation itself to the next week in an effort to make that better for families.
Any other questions or clarity that we need on the calendars? That last week and that first week in June there, the seniors, would they have to go to school that week, or they just?
I believe the minutes on that, Dustin, they would be complete by then. It's more just moving the graduation date because of the activities, right? So they would have already met their time.
Fair enough.
I remember in the meeting that was.
Okay, that's what I was thinking that.
I remember in the meeting that. That was what we rolled with.
Yeah.
That week.
That's what I remembered. I just can't remember for sure. Okay. All right. Any other questions on the calendars? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve D5, consideration approval for 25-26, public schools and following down.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved by Tyler and seconded by Lorraine that we approve consideration for approval of the 25-26 Havre Public School and Colony calendars. Any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Any member of the board wish to speak to the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes 7-0. Agenda item D6.
Okay. So we'll start with the paraprofessional agreement. Okay. So in this process, we had a couple board members, myself, Holly, Moses, that were all on the teams as we navigated these for both paraprofessionals and for HEA. You take a look at the agreement that we're asking for approval on for 25 through 27 paraprofessionals. The agreement, as you know, when you start looking through this, the red sections are the ones that have had some adjustments to. So we'll just kind of go through those sections and I'll highlight information for you. If we skip ahead to this one. Okay, on page 10, workday, work week, and work year. Under that section, some added language was in the case of where it says, in the event the school is delayed or closed or the employees is instructed to not report for the regular scheduled workday shift due to inclement weather, potential danger, or an act of God, employees will receive their regularly scheduled pay for that day. This will only apply if the hours or days do not need to be made up to stay in accordance with state regulations. So that was an adjustment that's made. We also made an adjustment under substitutes. You'll see section A says $22 for more than 20 minutes and less than 4 hours of substitute service. And then section B, $44 for 4 more hours of substitute service. The insurance premiums were also adjusted to reflect what was negotiated. So for employees who elect for full-time service would be 900 a month for 25, 26, 26, 27, and then 657 a month for the prorated amount for employees working less than full-time service. I think on that, and then I can skip to the actual pay itself. Correct. Thank you, Tyler. Yep. Yep. Then that language is still in there. That's built in. Then we can always take a look at that and adjust if they do go up. Okay. And then skipping to page 20, if you look at the Havre paraprofessional salary schedule. So 25, 26, we agreed to a 4% increase. And then on 26, 27, we agreed to a 3.5% increase. Okay. Any question on the paraprofessional agreement?
That brings us pretty close to where other districts are around us, or are we still?
Yeah, it's really not a very accurate measure. And as you know, we have different districts that have different dynamics that can.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that put us kind of comparable where.
Yep. Sure.
Harder about
Yep. Which is always a good thought. That's what we're always striving for, is trying to stay in the hunt. Yep. Yep. Okay. Any other questions on paras? Okay. We'll take a look at the HEA agreement. And again, this is another 2-year agreement that we're bringing before you. This one had a lot more adjustments in language. So let's see, we'll skip to first section on this. Okay, which would be on page 8. So the salary schedule for 25, 26. You can see kind of highlighted in the red font. This salary schedule meets the STARS Act's requirements. So kind of before you, as you know, when we were navigating all of this, we were instructed from legal to make sure that you start out your negotiations with plenty of time so that you can factor in what STARS would do for your district so that it matches up in time, right? And we're able to do that. Moses, Holly, and I, Moses especially, has put in a lot of time kind of going through the matrices to make sure they match up, which was great. But in front of you for 25, 26, as well as when you flip to the next page on 26, 27, those meet the STARS criteria. And so that was what was negotiated within the bargaining agreements. This was a 2.5% adjustment. And then we also had with that, the interesting part on this was we were able to get to agreements with the association based on cells 16 through 20. Is that right, Moses?
On lane 6.
16, right through.
Lane 6.
Yep. Lane 6, cells 16 through 20. So we had to come up with a little extra amount too also, which we felt was fair, that we're also valuing our long-term employees. So our veteran staff also, we were able to adjust this matrix so that they could see that we value and care about their service. So those cells were also adjusted, where currently right now, that's one of the big stoppages with some districts is they see the STARS Act only as a value for the entry level teachers, and then the veteran teachers don't see that. So the nice part we were able to do is, so you can see the trickle down across the board for our veteran teachers as well. Then also in section 5.2, you'll note that we had some adjustments for our stipend positions. So this year we did things like we added additional stipends for Key Club and Culture Club, which previously we didn't have. We did some name adjustments from Flag to Color Guard, Helpers, National Junior Honor Society, and then we also added in some positions for track and wrestling, which were assistant positions, and those were based on numbers. So in visiting with those groups, there was a need to make some additional coaching adjustments, which we did. Okay. So we'll skip through that and then we'll go down to section 6.1 health insurance. Okay. So if you take a look at that, you'll see the thresholds adjusted up to 1,027 for fiscal year 26. And then you'll notice under fiscal year 27 that we are going to agree to negotiate insurance contributions at that time. So our hope from a district standpoint is that the trust will be available, which the idea with the trust, right, is to kind of equalize then the playing field so that we don't see these huge spikes of 8, 9, 10, 16%. There are ones more that we can bank on at that 2 to 3% max. So in that area of 2.5 a year. So we're going to wait and look at insurance at that time when hopefully that goes through. Okay, then skipping ahead to page 16 under increments, section D, we had language added in that says Sport Fridays will be taken in half-day increments and be treated as a stipulation leave day. The number of teachers absent on these days will be limited to a maximum of 10. Any absences beyond the limit will revert to a full day, 8.75 hours leave. Illness leave must be accompanied by a written confirmation of illness submitted 5 days, 5 school days, that is, from a medical professional in order to be considered as a half-day leave, right? So we're capping that amount. And then if they have a doctor's note, that's the caveat to receive the half day versus full day leave charged. Then if you move to section F under attendance stipend, that was another request by the association, is rather than having the attendance stipend paid once a year, they wanted it to be split twice a year. So you can just see how then we took that stipend that was paid, split it into 2 equal amounts, and then it talks about then just the different amounts of leave and what that stipend would look like if they took some of the leave, and so how that kind of calculates out. We move forward in the agreement, see the next page. Where it would affect you would be page 21. Under 8.11, school-related business, this is a new additional section, and it says master level MOA officials that are HPS teachers will be allowed up to 2 school-related absences per year if they are recruited to officiate at MHSA postseason state tournaments. These school-related absences will not affect the attendance stipend or payments. Okay, so that's just if you happen to be nominated and are selected, right? And that's definitely an honor and a benefit, I believe, to our district when those types of teachers get to go support and do good things for kids from Havre. G is that section we talked about for the colony language. So it says, in event of an offsite instructional setting, certified teachers will follow the same number of hours per calendar year as hours set in an on-site instructional calendar. So Jake, that's the one you were kind of referencing. So that was the language we put in to cover the colonies. If you move to page 23, section C, it talks about the 1/7 language. So in the event that the district adds a class section, which would require the instructor to teach 7 periods a day via 7th period day schedule, the school district will offer the teacher 1/7 of their current contract amount in compensation. This clause would affect grades 6 through 12 instructors, and the teacher would first have to agree to take the extra class. Compensation will be based on a per diem per day, depending on when extra class would begin and end. Okay. And again, the uniqueness with this certainly is that the teacher has the ability to accept that or not. So it's not becoming a mandatory. We're simply offering that as an option, right? Okay. Moving on. Pressing pages on this. I think so too. Yep. And that looks like all of the changes that we made to the HEA. So if you have any questions on those, we'll be happy to answer.
Any questions or clarification for Mr. Graham? Okay, thank you to those who were part of the negotiating process, both administrators, board, as well as the unions. Worked pretty hard to get those done quickly, so thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item D6, consideration of approval for the 25 through 27 paraprofessional and teacher bargaining agreements.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Kevin and seconded by Tyler that we approve agenda item D6, consideration of approval for the 25, 27 paraprofessional and teacher bargaining agreements. Does any member of the audience wish to speak to the motion? Does any member of the board wish? Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous.
And then should be a public comment. And then your public comment.
Yeah, I was just making sure
Okay.
that I was at the
Yep.
right. After
I know.
my packet got all kinds of.
I know, right? That's what I was
jostled
trying to do too, is sort it.
This brings us to the public comment portion of the meeting. This is an opportunity for any member of the audience to bring to the attention of the board questions or relevant comment concerning school district matters not on the agenda. The board may not take any action on matters brought to the attention of the board unless specific notice of that matter is included in a properly noticed agenda. Therefore, in the public comment portion of the meeting, the board will not discuss or take any action, but may refer a matter presented to a future agenda. If you have comments, please come to the microphone so that the board can hear you. Please note that the board is bound by ethical practice, district policy, negotiated agreements, and the Montana statute to protect the rights of its employees. Are there any persons wishing to comment at this time? Mr. Krasky?
Yep, Dustin Krasky, Havre High School. I'd like to publicly thank Mark Irvin, who's, I'm sure, not playing any games up there or anything on his phone, for 10, you're certainly not playing any games on her phone, I hope. 10 wonderful years of working with you, Mark. I'm not sure why 10 years ago you decided to come up to the middle school and give us a hand up here. I certainly know why you went to Havre or Highland Park, because I know that was a fun gig for you, and it was good to have you come out to the high school and give us a hand and be an advocate for our kids and coaches and teachers and everybody else. You're 20, I'm not aging you, I don't think, 27 years in public ed. You're a dinosaur, man, and you're a foundation guy. And this district's going to miss a lot of the things that you know, because we don't know them. So, Mark, I just want to do it in front of the board. I was going to recognize you in front of the academic awards thing, but that didn't seem right. Because that was about kids, and that would have upset you if I recognized you there. And I certainly am not going to talk about yet graduation. So here it felt like the most appropriate place. I know you won't be at the June board meeting, or I don't think you'll be, since you have a Class A Let's Get Organized meeting. So thank you, Mark, for every day for a decade. And I've had the wonderful privilege to work with 4 guys. And you're one of the 4, my man. And we're going to miss you. And Townsend's going to love you. So thank you, Mark Irvin.
Any other comments? From the board, Mr. Irvin, thank you for what you've done at all the different schools that you've been at. You've impacted kids from kindergarten to high school. You've seen that growth You've had, I think all, no, you didn't have Knox. You've got all my kids but one, and I know. But they all appreciate and love the job that you did as their administrator when you had them. So thank you for what you've done for our community. It's been a great run that you've given us, and we wish you the best in your next endeavor. And I'm just glad you're not going to a Class A school, so we don't have to see you that way. Okay, there's no other public comment. We will move on to the enrollment.
Sure. So that's E1. So enrollment is up total of 9 students currently when examining the trend data from last year. Havre High School is also up significantly higher than it has been in the past when it comes to looking at numbers over the past 5 years. So, we kind of talked last year, Tim, about is the high school up above 500 at the end of the school year? So, the numbers are continuing to show the right thing, which is always a positive, right? When you look at that kind of cascading up over 5 years, it is at the highest threshold of those 5. So we certainly like to see the numbers trending the way they are. As you know, you're always going to have the kind of the ebb and flow and students moving in and out. But right now, the data is showing us with the numbers moving in the right direction. So that's positive.
Yeah. This report, our high school administrative team and teachers, you guys are doing a phenomenal job to keep those kids in our school. The fact that we're 24 kids over 500, and 5 years ago, we were at 496 and all the way down to 488 at this point in the last 5 years. You guys are doing a great job. Those conversations that you're having with kids and parents are doing great things for those kids. So keep up the great work. The rest of our schools are seeing their numbers stay, really well, and we haven't seen big drop-offs this year. So great job, administrative team and teachers.
Perfect. Okay. E2. So Havre Public Schools scored very well on the additional sections for OPI. So Holly and I jumped on the platform. They just did a preliminary release of the accreditation data. As you know, we thought we were wrapped up last year, and then they said, oh no, there's a year 2 with this. So in that extra gift, right, we spent that time, as you all know, because you were a part of that, finishing up the strategic plan, right? My principals got involved in finishing up the continuous school improvement plans, right? There was plan after plan, which ultimately led us to shoring up a lot of gaps that were previously out there. And, just based on COVID and things that happened, right? So it wasn't like just one thing. There was a variety of things. We were able to come together as a team over this last 2 years, finish all of those data points, kind of draw across the conclusions we needed. And then also when we submitted, found out that we received 4s across the board, which is those highest marks that you want. So from a school district standpoint, Holly and I were extremely pleased that we're sitting up on top with high marks and accreditation across the board. So that's a wonderful thing for a school district. So they'll probably have the report that goes out like Highline today and some of those platforms in June. But I wanted just to give you that preliminary data right now that we're sitting good.
Mrs. Kreiner, did she get her?
Mrs. Kreiner did.
Did she get that box?
Oh yeah, she did.
To the correct amount. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Haley, the pit bull, said not on my watch.
They were supposed to give you a reprieve now, right? Like you get a couple of year cycle, but we could purchase. Okay.
Open for 3.
You guys.
Yeah. So E3, disposal of property sale. So we've been kind of navigating this, and we talked about last time whether that would be in person or online. So we've decided that it's going to occur June 14th, 2025, online with all the information becoming available to the public by May 31st, 2025. So today I met with my administrative team. We kind of reviewed then that disposal of property resolution. We had some edits. Moses and I did a few editing on it just so that it comes out clear to the public. And then I sent that to Rebecca. That's going to go out next Thursday in the Havre Weekly Chronicle, relaying the info. We'll have it posted at Robbins with all the pictures. So Scott's going around next week, taking all of the pictures. We're going to have a pop-up link on the website, right? So then when parents log on, or, just public in general, not necessarily parents, it'll direct them immediately to the sale. So Aaron Hansen's been kind of navigating how that's going to look, and then they can select and bid on items as is directly online. We chose this versus the practice field, in an effort to say, do we want to move all of those items down there and then turn around on what doesn't and move them all to like Pacific Steel in the dump and wherever we decide we're going to discard items? What's the least impactful to our crew as well? And so we think this is the best way to go. A lot of school districts now are moving to this method. So you will see those also up at the courthouse and on Facebook. So we'll have all the proper notices. But you all certainly, everyone can jump on and take a look at the wonderful items we have available. So that's coming up here soon. Okay. Next, so Holly, Cheryl, and myself have been working with the administrative staff at MUSN to create more opportunities for our kids. So we've really forged, I believe, some really good partnerships with Northern. We've had a lot of conversations with Greg, Lindsay, right? And then Jen Brown. So we've had a couple of meetings, and in those kind of coming out of those meetings, right, it's been about sharing facilities, us being able to have more of our students going up on campus at Northern to take part in dual credit, dual enrollment opportunities, work-based opportunities, which they did this year, right? We had Leadership High. They offered a Blue Pony career fair. So I feel like we're able to really kind of connect now with our local university, which coming in then a year ago, I really wanted to see us start to move in that direction because we have this great resource right here in our town, right? And so if we can find ways where we can help each other out, that's just more beneficial for not only then our students for resources and moving forward for maybe selecting Northern as the college they want to go to, but also for us in terms of employment opportunities, right? So we've had conversation with our team members about then how do we get more, Northern grads that are just coming out to want to come down, whether that's being a para or a teacher for us at Havre Public Schools. So I feel like the partnership's moving in a really good direction right now. Holly or Cheryl, if you guys had any insights or thoughts other than that, feel free to share, but I feel like it's been pretty positive. Okay. And then lastly, so I just wanted to talk Staff Appreciation Week. So I'm going to pass out the letter that I sent out in case you haven't had that regarding staff appreciation. So for those of you who are on board members and on our school climate committee, we've been kind of building towards this for all year. And so we sent out a letter that kind of just articulates how that week is going to look next week, right? So Monday, we've got PTO is going to be providing and delivering snacks to each elementary building, and Booster Club will provide those same snacks to the high school, Robbins, and Bus Garage. On Tuesday, the Elks, the Lions, and American Legion are providing small gifts of their choosing to the staff. They're going to take them directly to all those buildings, all the sites I listed. Wednesday, local churches are sponsoring a building for Havre Public School employees and providing goods of their choosing. And then Thursday, this was a part I wanted just to remind all of you that I'm inviting all of you to join Holly, Cheryl, and myself in taking along our gifts to the staff along with sheet cakes that say thank you. We appreciate what you do to all the buildings. And so we're going to meet at Robbins at 8 a.m. and then we'll go out to the buildings. Gives you a chance just to see all of our staff, shake hands with everyone. We just felt like it's the right thing to do. And this effort was made by the committee rather than just saying we've got a day here for this group or a day here for that group, and then somebody feels left out and it gets forgotten, to say all employees matter at all times at Havre Public Schools. And so this is our way to touch base with everyone. So that keeps you, yeah. Yep. Could take maybe a couple hours.
Okay.
Yep. So if you can join us, Lorraine, that'd be awesome. Okay.
Okay, announcements. Mr. Kraske, how many board members do you want for graduation? Oh, okay. Are there two volunteers that would like to go up on stage for graduation?
I'll volunteer. If someone else wants my spot, it's okay too.
Garrett told me he would do it. My niece is great. Garrett's not here.
Well, oh, okay. Okay, all right. Okay, do you want to let Brian know?
Yeah.
And then Brian will send that to Mr. Kraske. It'll either be Lorraine and Garrett or Lorraine and Kristen.
Okay. And you guys then will email me. So how you want to do it, or you want to just put, how do we want to do that? How
She's
you
gonna
let
check
me
her
know?
schedule.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did
you're going to,
double
okay,
check it, and I'll let
okay, so we've got Lorraine and Kristen. Or Lorraine and Garrett, okay, I'll wait to hear. There we go.
One thing coming up in June is, we'll try and do those committees. Where you pick what committees you want to be on.
You might as well just scratch me off every one. I never make a single one.
We can. All right. Well, we will look at that. But if you get a chance to look through last year's committee assignments, just see if there's something that you would like to be on or something that you would prefer to not be on. We'll do that in June. So, anything else that we need to qualify?
Nope.
Okay. Any correspondence?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay. With that, that brings us to agenda item G1, which is out of district. We have any parents?
We do not.
No, for the out of district.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the out of district, it's a request to enroll non-resident applications in our accordance with district policy 3141. I have determined that this agenda item involves individual rights of privacy that exceeds the public's right to know. We will now reconvene in a closed session in 5 minutes. And then anybody that's not part of that needs to go out into the hall.
So, yep. Perfect. Ate all the cookies, Moses, you and Aaron.
It's been a little bit long, so I figured 5 to use the restroom is appropriate.
With him. Decent children. Decent children.
Is it's not, it's 8:41. 8:41, we're out of closed session.
You can come in if you want, Haley. It's open now.
And I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve. Districts.
Is there a second? It's been moved by Tyler and seconded by Kelly that we approved kids 1 through 13 out of district kids as presented for enrollment into Havre public schools. Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, agenda item G2.
Oh, hang on, Tim. I have it right here for you, Becca. So here is the sheets. Lorraine, could you pass this down to Tim?
This part of the meeting concerns an item of personal privacy. Does the individual or representative for the individual concerned wish to discuss the matters in executive session?
Yes.
Okay. It's just what we just have to.
No, you're good.
Okay, so with that, we will close in open session and we'll reconvene in executive session immediately following the door close. Yeah, that's right. 9:19 back in open session. I would entertain a motion on agenda item G2.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we uphold policy 3110 in regards to early school entrance into kindergarten for student A.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Jake and seconded by Kevin that we uphold policy 3110 in regards to early enrollment of student A. Is that correct? Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimous. With that, I would entertain a motion to reconvene at our next regularly scheduled board meeting on May 27th. Meeting's adjourned.